Hello again. It is Wing Nation presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength. Talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the year, favorite time of the week, favorite time of the year. Anytime we get a chance to talk sprint car racing. We are so glad that you have joined us. Erin, Evernham, and Steve Post. A little cozy here today.
Yeah.
Because we have an in-studio guest. If you followed Wing Nation for our years and years, we always end the year kind of with our State of the Sports show. Brian Carter, the CEO of the World Racing Group, is going to join us on set here in just a little bit, and we're going to talk all things sprint car racing with Brian. It's one of our favorite shows of the year. I love getting the big picture. I love getting some of the details. Sometimes he'll sneak us a little hint.
Yep.
What's going on? We'll have to see about that.
Breaking news-ish.
And then he brings in stats.
He brings in all the stats, and I love it. There's graphs. There's highlighted data this year. I love it.
You got a chance to sneak a peek.
He didn't really let me see it. He just kind of like showed me from a distance.
That's funny.
But I love some statistics, and I feel like, being an engineering nerd, it's the one way that you really know the growth of the sport and how things are really going. I mean, numbers don't lie. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And there's some good stuff that's happened this year. We have talked about it a lot. Some great things have happened for sure, including the World of Outlaw World Finals. We'll kick off our Hefner Racing Product Hot Topics with the World of Outlaw World Finals. I'm trying to think, Erin. Shame on me. I haven't been to a World of Outlaw race since not.
I don't even want to talk about it. Let's not talk about when the last...
Oh, that's right, because you've had a worse year.
I have not had a good year making it to races. I have tuned into some dirt vision. Don't worry about that.
No, I know you follow along. And so, I walk in and it's like, I felt like I needed a name tag.
I'm pretty sure you didn't. I'm pretty sure people know.
Right. Yeah. First and foremost, just to get back in the pit area was fun. Just fun. Really neat. Got out there Wednesday night, and I actually Wednesday night did a little bit behind the scenes. I went to Dirt Vision in the middle of it, because Dirt Vision's right around the corner, actually, from the track, and went and did the watch party with Dave Reef, and I ended up with my old buddy Brett Hearn from Modified Days. And so it was fun. We were watching it and chit-chatting about life and different things, and really cool. As we've talked about here, we love what the streaming platforms are doing, and that watch party was really cool. And I understand that the other night that Terry McCarroll was on there giving marital and dating advice to Nick Hoffman or somebody. So
there'll be no comments.
Exactly. So I did that, but I did get a chance to get back out there in time for the feature. Carson Macedo leads the way. The car slows. Logan Schuchart picks up the win. Schuchart over Carson Macedo. Brad Sweet third. Friday night, Donnie Schatz, just a dominant performance by Donnie Schatz. Donnie Schatz, Carson Macedo, Brad Sweet third. I was on with my buddy Scott Traylor last week, Wednesday. Yeah. And I said, he was asking, do you think Gravel can catch Sweet? I said, I think the problem David Gravel has is Brad Sweet gets at least 2 podium finishes out of these 3 nights. Yeah. And he got them the first 2 nights. Yep. And sure enough, that just was such strong performance, which we've seen. We've talked about the performance of that team and the durability of that team. Saturday night, Donnie Schatz, 307th career World of Outlaw win, 14th at the dirt track. He bookended the season, 5 on the year, but he won at Volusia, and he won at the World Finals. And everybody was happy. Donnie Schatz in victory lane. Yeah. Cool stuff. Gio Scelzi second, Sheldon Haudenschild third, Brad finished 5th, enough to clinch the championship. Just a spectacular season, wrapping up a spectacular season of racing. Just really across the board. And then it's just so intriguing to have Donnie Schatz come out and win the last 2 races. Yeah. Because you're just sitting there, oh boy, here we go again.
Watch out. Here we go.
Fun stuff, that is for sure. Out on the West Coast, it was the tribute to Gary Patterson. Out at Stockton Dirt Track, King of the West NARC Series, Justin Sanders, his 13th career series win, picked up the victory. Dominic Scelzi won his 2nd championship. We knew that. He had it pretty much locked up. 4 wins. But Erin, we have talked all about the kids in California. Okay, there's this kid, and there's that kid, and there's this one, and Dominic's a kid. Yeah. 2nd in points, Willie Croft. 3rd in points, Bud Kading. Not necessarily the younger set. The old guard out there, the old dogs are still showing their strength out there. Yeah. And with Willie finishing 2nd, Bud Kading 3rd. Great season. Jim Allen, what they've done out there with the King of the West Series, moving north. They had a couple Oregon races, and then up to Skagit. I'm so excited about what's going on the West Coast, and congratulations to Dominic Scelzi on the championship.
Got the big wedding coming up now.
Got the big wedding coming up, and Gio is going to have his first drink.
Yeah, he
because
turns
Gio
21.
turns 21, and he gets to have his first alcoholic drink. Wow, I know that they're excited
as a
about
Scelzi,
that.
I'm sure.
Exactly. Can you imagine a Scelzi wedding? No. I mean, we need live. This is live feed from a Scelzi wedding. This is
Can we get
must-see
some
TV.
Dirt Vision streaming?
Dirt Vision streaming. Maybe we'll talk to Brian about sending cameras out there, and we'll just do a reality show. And it's just the Selzy wedding for however
You
many
ever think
days.
how many people would tune in? I feel like the numbers.
Oh
would
my
be pretty
God!
strong.
Could you imagine the numbers if we did the Selzy wedding? Oh my gosh, it's going to be great. It really, truly is. Great season. Wrapping it up out on the West Coast. There you have it. Our Hefner Racing product hot topics. The absolute #1 pit utility vehicle in sprint car and midget racing is a custom mule conversion from HRP. Erin, it starts with a solid platform, dependable, great-looking Kawasaki mule.
Yep, and it's customized and built to each customer's specifications. Options like generator, air compressor, shock and radius rod racks, amazing toolboxes and drawers, LED lighting, walk-on roofs, and more. HRP mule conversions perform, outlast, and maintain their value better than any other utility vehicle. HRP Mules raising the standard again in pit utility vehicles.
www.hrpracing.com. That's hrpracing.com. Remember, a 10% discount on your first online order. Use promo code MRN. Can't wait. I can't wait for PRI because I get to see my buddy Jeff and everybody from Hefner hang out in their booth. Love those people. Cannot wait. Going to be good stuff, that is for sure. All right, we need to step away because, let's see, it is the Sage Fruit. I don't think it's hot seat. It's not the guest line. It's not the hot line. The Sage Fruit visitor guest chair.
Guest
chair. Brian Carter from the World Racing Group. He joins us next.
Power isn't born. It's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sage Fruit is a premium grower, packer, and shipper of Washington tree fruit. Apples, pears, and cherries, and it's always an exceptional eating experience, and they're grown in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Not only is their produce healthy, but they are grown with such care and precision that you can count on each piece of fruit having exceptional flavor. High-quality fruit, exceptional flavor, healthy snacking. Make sure when you go to your local grocery store, ask for Sage Fruit. Sage Fruit, it's our first choice for quick and easy snacking.
Dirt Empire Magazine is the ultimate dirt track racing only magazine in the world, featuring interviews, opinions, event photos, tech, and 100% racing action. Each issue includes late models, modified sprint cars, and more. Big event photos from the best photographers in the sport, and great one-on-one interviews with the top drivers as well as grassroots racers. Pick up a copy of Dirt Empire Magazine today at select Tractor Supply stores or other area retailers, or get your subscription today at dirtempiremagazine.com.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength. Let's go to the Sage Fruit guest chair. Brian Carter, CEO of the World Racing Group, joins us. Hello, Brian. Welcome back.
Steve, how are you guys, Erin? Good to see you guys. It's not the hot seat today. I don't feel it yet. So it's all good.
We'll fire off some questions here. There's some stuff going on, but we've always gotten through this really well. I love that we end the season this way. It just kind of really puts a big old bow around the season. You've got so much that has gone on this year and then going forward, and then just hot button issues in the sports and everything. We appreciate you coming over and spending some time. It's really neat. Always has been.
No, it's my pleasure to come and talk about the sport and enjoy kind of continuing that high from World Finals. It was a great week. The good Lord shined on us all the way through till Saturday when we tried to have our banquet our celebration outside. But it was a great week of racing, lots of cars and lots of fans and everybody having a good time. So.
Yeah, I was Wednesday. People were like, "I've never wore a T-shirt here at World Finals." People were like, "It was so nice. It really, truly was." Brian, the energy, the excitement, your passion for the sport. Does it just continue with events like that and the big events? I mean, do you ever sense any waning in that, or do you just continue to be driven by that?
No, we were blessed again this year. We were at record crowds at just about every location again. So the interest and awareness for the sport is at an all-time high right now. So it's nice to be able to bring all that together and then bring all the race fans together and 52 teams from all across the country, one of the toughest fields, and then I'll actually race them and then give them a day off to kind of interact with the race fans. It was an interesting, a topic or a kind of a concept that we wanted to see, and everybody embraced that too. So we want to keep those things going, figure out how to do the next one. And the World Finals now, since 2007, has grown into one of those events you're just really proud of.
Brian, you talk about the sport being in such a good spot right now, the numbers, the record crowds. What are some of the highlights that you look at when you look back at the entire season, and what are some of the numbers that even stand out to you?
Well, we forget about the early part of the season. It was like we'd rained a lot early on.
Yeah.
We kind of forget all that. So, when you rain out 16 of the first 30 some odd races, but we still had, the highlights for me, we had an amazing addition with some of the races out of Houston. We boosted some things. We had the 100,000, the historical big one comes back. Knoxville, we were a little worried about it coming off the 60s, but you had a great year and full crowds there. And then you had, despite having 16 rainouts, we still had we had 380 competitors that competed in a World of Outlaws show, which is more than in the last 6 years. So you see the people wanting to come out and participate in the World of Outlaws, which means that those teams are developing into competitive teams, because there's not every team can come in and be a part of the show and feel good about that. But, having 380 different competitors come out to the show. So, but the main thing for me is having those race fans, the full grandstands, the big events, the destinations, the escape for everybody. That's what we like to provide, and having the greatest show on dirt. And we've been blessed to be able to do that every night we go out. So it's a good time right now.
I am telling you, up at Huset's, that final night, I don't know. And the weird part of it is this has been one of those years where I've had multiple ones in other aspects. I've been North Wilkesboro with Dale Jr. rallying through the field, where you have these moments. But Sheldon and the last few laps of that, of course, early in the day, they announced the big purse, everything expanding for next year on it. That little bull ring is just incredible. Sheldon, I am telling you, that is college football national championship game-winning Hail Mary. I mean, you stood there in the stands in just sheer disbelief.
Yeah, you said,
crazy.
Wow, what was that? I want to see that again. Let's rack them up and do it again.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm standing out there and I walked the track, and I'm like out on the track, and I'm still like a little bit like, and I walked down into turn 1 and 2 where Sheldon put it up there, and I'm looking, and I'm just like, how in the world did he do that?
There's not much left up there. It's like,
no, there wasn't. And that's been weird, because you go through years where you go through years where it's like, oh, it's all good. And then you have years like this. I mean, we had Ross Chastain with NASCAR last week at Martinsville, where he did the stupid video game thing. I mean, you have moments like that. But in really, honestly, when you look at that corridor, what Todd Quering did at Jackson, and really resurrecting that place, and now what he's doing at Houston's, I would say the upper Midwest, throw in Knoxville there as well. You've got to feel really, really good about what you have in that quadrant of the country.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of great racing up there. You take all those tracks, you bring in Beaver Dam, you bring in Cedar Lake, there's some really incredible racing that's in growth and investment. And that's what then Knoxville continues to invest in their property with the LED lights and some of the entertainment values. And it's good to see that, based on the strength of the sport, that those people that are important to the sport are reinvesting and making differences. Entertainment, and we see those kinds of moments every race, just not quite as overwhelming as something like Sheldon, but we get to see that every night. And that's the piece you kind of take it for granted, that what's happening and how entertaining our product is, because of the guys that are racing and because of the racetracks, and candidly, just the fans getting so wrapped up in it and engaged every day. It's a phenomenal place right now.
That was my next question for you, talking about the competition. You've always said that you have such a great product. Like the racing has always been a great product, and it continues to be. I'm sure there's so much that goes behind on behind the scenes about competition. But how hard is it, or is it not hard to keep that competition level even and so strong? I mean, we know we have great teams and great drivers and great sponsors involved, but the product doesn't, there isn't really someone who dominates. Yeah, Brad had a great year, but it was more consistency. He didn't totally dominate. So is that hard to keep that competition level as great as it's been?
Yeah, our job is to make sure we set the stage and then let the guys race. Yeah. So we try to make sure that they have the best platform, the best racetracks, and then do everything we can so that they can show the world what they can do as great race car drivers. So, and when we open the pit gates, we can't care what color the car is. So we really do try to provide that fair, safe place to come and race, and consistency. We have a very consistent product. And when you do that, focusing on the safety first, the fairness, and then the entertainment value for the fans, then you just set the stage and you let these guys have a place, and they're going to put on a great show. So, we don't have to manufacture competition or points races or any of that. I mean, there's none of that happening. So for that part, we're blessed. And that's the piece that I take great pride in, is trying to figure out, how do we make the sport better? How do we do that? How do we talked a little bit before I got on how do you create the national programs, the regional programs, the local programs, so that they support that, so we can have that kind of entertainment when we come into town.
The overall, you are a stats number not only of the World of Outlaw races, but overall, the overall health of sprint car racing. What are some of the high marks of it? What are some of the numbers? What are some of the things that stand out from you across the country of 410 sprint car racing?
So, we have a new regional program with what the Power Eye's doing. So we see 410 growing there. We know that there's some potential for a new program that's being run by Brad and Kyle. So the growth, there's definitely interest in growing the number of events. But when we look at sprint car racing and 410s in particular, we had a lot of races last year, 460 races completed. And the interesting statistic about that is 153 different guys and gals won races.
Holy
153 different people won races. And nobody really, beyond Macri just killed him. And then Mark's had a great year too, so he picked at it and got 17 wins. So, and he picked up some big ones. So, you take that money out, it's a great time to be running around. And then also with the World of Outlaws. So, we had 4 races paying 6 digits this year. We'll have more next year. We already talked about Houston's jumping theirs up to 250. And then, it's just, there's no trouble booking shows. There's no trouble with trying to figure these pieces out. It's just getting the balance right, so that we're not saturating any particular market, not only with our product, with every other product.
Brian, we're talking a lot about the highs in the sport right now, but we know that no matter what you're doing in this world, there's always challenges too. Talk about how you work through the tire challenges earlier in the year, and just some of the products and pieces. I know teams are struggling for getting their engines refreshed and different things. What were some of the struggles, and how did you guys manage them?
So, when you look back at the beginning of the year, a lot of that stuff we'd like to forget, but we were not as aggressive rescheduling shows early in the year, when you're going to have, a good show may not be as good as a show's going to be in July. So we're really trying to be careful with allocating resources to shows that were not going to be great, and that were, with the fuel prices and traveling, we did cancel a couple of early spring shows well in advance to protect the teams and our team from driving and burning diesel fuel we didn't need to burn. So that was really, when you look at it, we had to be really careful with how we were managing the investment on something that was marginal. So we weren't really aggressive rescheduling shows. I'm hoping that some of those pressures ease up on us from a series perspective, and from a country. We need to figure some of this stuff out. Yeah. But we'll talk about that on a different radio show.
That's a whole other show.
But it's there's a lot of dynamics, and it went into our decision making. It was definitely a conscious part of our decision making. If we know it's marginal and we've got a long way to travel, and we can put it back in, and we know we have tire issues, or we have supply issues, or we have let's save that. And candidly, we were not as aggressive rescheduling shows or trying to push through weather when it's 45 degrees outside and when it shouldn't be entertaining race fans.
Yeah.
So that was really the main piece. And then as the summertime came through, some of that stuff eased up. Some of it did for us. Hoosier's a big partner of World Racing Group and Dirt Car and the World of Outlaws, and I think that everybody in the entire sport made sacrifices this year to make certain that we focused on the ones that had the most impact for everybody, not only race teams or sanctioning bodies, but primarily the race fans. And how do you balance those resources in? And it was actually a nice collaboration of how we did that, and shows again that the racing community can figure out a way through this. Even if there's a challenging environment or a challenging economy, there's a way through this. We stick together.
Yeah. We had Neil on one show earlier this year from Hoosier, and he talked about the challenges. And honestly, it's challenges beyond their control with labor and supplies and raw materials and everything. Oops,
there you go. You're falling down. I did not do that.
I did that.
I love when he does that. It really cracks me up.
And I'm trying to find the handle here on it.
Those guys. that was great. That was great.
Oh God.
Okay,
Sorry.
I won't do that. Well, I'll try not to fall either. But there's Hoosiers. The face of Hoosiers changing, and they're really supportive of everything we're doing. We actually made some really significant headway on the late model program with the national tire rule. And the people, I know that people don't understand the entire, but because of their relationship with Continental, they were actually able to obtain resources they might not have been able to obtain if they were independent U.S. manufacturers. So I'm actually, there's a lot of things that came together to make sure we all had the tires we needed to put on the big shows and put on the racing where we could.
Neat stuff, that's for sure. I'm going to go at a lower level. I'm still at the same level with you, Erin. So I think we're all right
I'm
here.
a little short, and I'm all the way up.
You're all the way up. Okay.
Sorry,
here we
I'm
go.
still laughing.
The challenges are out there. And we talked about some of the regional tours. Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson have formed the High Limits series. Your view on that, your take on that, just kind of your sense on that is that is the hot button issue. That's what everyone wants to know about. What's Brian Carter?
What are we going to do?
We've asked everybody else, and everyone else has offered their opinion. What's Brian Carter's take on that?
Well, it's a challenge for us because what they're asking of us is a deviation from 44, 45 years of our operation. So the World of Outlaws was built on a group of drivers and a group of tracks that and some exclusivity related to that the fans know. So I know that there's concern for me and for the racetracks in particular about how this balances in. Again, I talked a little bit about saturation in the marketplace and trying to figure out how it works. So we've got, again, record crowds, big events, destination pieces, and I don't know how you get some of those pieces on a Tuesday night. There's just a lot of that piece that we define success by something that's different than that. So I have a hard time changing my model much for something that I don't necessarily understand what success looks like. So, and for me, we've been blessed over the years. You're trying to bring resources into the sport. There's been a historical challenge. Historically, we've had fans bring in through ticket sales, sponsors coming in and supporting the pieces. And in the recent history, we actually now have a different revenue stream that was never available to us, which is the streaming and the TV rights. So it used to be a massive expense all those years. So now we have that revenue stream. And it's important that you're bringing all of those in and then balancing them out. We've done some work on that. And for every dollar that kind of comes in, it gets cycled 4 or 5 times before it goes out of the family. By the time we get it in, we pay out prize money, the teams pay out people. They buy parts, the parts people buy more parts, and then the parts guys, kids racing or the staff are racing, they come back and that money comes back. And it's 5 times before it leaves. So every dollar that's coming in is important in figuring out how it balances in. And it's if you're not focused on all 3 of those pieces, some parts short. So if you're not having fans or you're not having sponsors or you're not having some part of the streaming coming back into the sport, it gets out of balance and we're not really maximizing what's available. So how much I'm trying to maximize all of those pieces. How much am I supposed to sacrifice for the fans or for the teams for something I'm not certain I share the opinion of it being balanced? So it's a challenge for me. I understand in today's world there's a lot of racing, and there's a model that's been tried in the late model world. It's working to some extent, but there's a consolidation of wealth there inside the teams that I'm really concerned about. And then even some of the new Tuesday night shows are not concerned about sponsorship. They don't understand all the other pieces and really haven't seen much effort to bring fans to the grandstand. So you're leaving 2 parts of that out. I just want to make sure that what we're doing is right. And candidly, they've asked me to change my product. Racetracks buy exclusivity.
Sure.
I sell them full grandstands. We sell them full grandstand. And I need to make sure I can do that on a regular basis and make sure that part of it's sustainable going forward. And right now, I've been pushed to rush to a conclusion. I haven't come to a conclusion yet. I'm still working on them. So my goal, I have to make certain I have my sponsors all lined up. I have my calendar all lined up, and I have investments that I need to make sure that the sport is healthy and growing and the fans get the entertainment value. And then we figure out how you allocate it from there. And that's not something that I'm going to rush through.
I think that's totally fair. And like you said, this is something 45 years of the World of Outlaws are asking to change. It all makes sense that you want to think it through and make the correct decision. I'm curious, how transparent are you with the teams and the drivers as far as streaming numbers? Like, is that something that you guys are, because you obviously do pay, I don't know if you still call it tow money, but if you sign your contract with the World of Outlaws, you get rewards and you get, so is there a lot of transparency? How does that work within the teams in the business?
So we've been sharing more and more the numbers of the people that have been watching and all the rest, but they don't get transparency necessarily to the revenues because they don't understand the entire business model either relative to, Apple takes their third off the top, the broadband companies take their piece, the satellite companies get their piece, and you staff it all. So I don't think it's quite as lucrative as they think it is. But we've been sharing that in a fixed, like like going back to COVID, historically racing, we post prize money, you race for it and you get paid. We post point funds, you race for it and you get paid. And we've been this past year, we posted bonus money and tow money. So the packages, we've been enhancing that over the last 3 years, and the number has gone from about $800,000 to over $2 million just within the platinum teams over the last 2 or 3 years. So they're asking for more transparency, but they haven't really, the transparency as to what, I own my business. It's my business and they have their businesses. I don't ask them for transparency into merchandise sales or any of the other pieces that they're doing based on building that off of our business. So it's a challenge. You want to be as transparent because you're business partners with everybody, but it's also, what we do is we post prize money. And even during the COVID year, we did not decrease the point fund. We paid the full point funds. We paid the full bonus money, paid the full point fund this year, despite raining out 16 out of 90. So we've always done that, and we'll continue to always do that. So for me, it's creating that level of certainty or sustainability that's much more valuable to the sport as a whole. And I think that's just balancing that back in. So
as you work through this, is there negotiate? I mean, you've got a decision to make, and ultimately that's your decision. You're ultimately the one that has the key decision with platinum agreements and that sort of thing. But is there good dialogue? Is there good conversation between you and some of the team folks?
It's up and down.
Okay.
It's up and down. I don't fault them for wanting more. I don't fault them. And it is definitely a performance-based compensation package.
Yeah.
So you perform well, you're going to have a great year. And when you go back to 2 or 3 years ago, again, I don't want to go back too deep in the history. They asked us, well, we don't want to race so much. We want to race less. We want to have big events and want to travel a little bit less. Okay, so we did that. We want more prize money. Okay, we've done that too. We've increased the prize money. We've helped the racetracks at Knoxville, at Eldora, at Houston, at Jackson, and prize money across the events. And then, okay, well, we got cherry picked. That was a year, I think, that Kyler Courtney won some and Kyle Larson won. So now they're not getting the prize money. So I focused this year on enhancing the bonus money. So we added $7,000 or $8,000, actually increased it. So, from a $650,000 point fund to $1 million point fund and another $500,000 in bonus money, plus the tow money, plus the contingencies, plus the passes. So the package now for just the platinum teams is $2,066,000 actually for this year. In just the platinum teams, on top of the prize money,
first money.
So that's a compelling package, and I guess what they want more, and I don't fault them for that.
Sure.
But I want to make sure that we have a sustainable product and we're delivering the product to the fans. So my investments in the video boards and the fan engagement and all these pieces have to be balanced in along with the investment in the team. Yeah. So we had, when you look back at the teams, we had 5 teams over $500,000 in total package. And we had with the Shark team, almost $900,000 total. I mean, it's like between the two teams, these are serious dollars into the compensation of the teams, just the platinum team. So it's a balancing act and it's hard to do. And as you're asking for time, the expectation that a Tuesday night somewhere doesn't have an effect on either weekend is a false assumption.
Yeah.
It's a false assumption because there's only so many dollars, there's only so many paychecks, there's only so many race fans. So my job is to figure out what is the long-term implications of this and what does it do to our business model. Yeah. And I understand wanting more and I want more. I want to figure out how do we get more race fans? How do we get more sponsors? How do we get more people watching? Yeah. Then now I've got a package that I can put together and then distribute that. So it's a balancing act. And I'm not in a rush to figure this out because it has long-term consequences that we may not even know yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you make a change, if you were to, you're not going to change it back pretty quickly.
It's very difficult. You can always do it, but it's awfully painful to back up. And then my goal is to try to figure out how we continue to move it forward.
Make it work.
And it's and right now, based on everything that I can see, we continue to move it forward.
Right.
So, okay, that's a big ask right now.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. We had a guest on, I don't remember who it was, a few weeks ago, and we talked about the true outlaw schedule versus running the World of Outlaws. And it was like, yeah, it works for an Anthony Macri or Brent Marks because they're winning the races. But all of a sudden, if you have a ton of really good teams doing that, they all can't win all those races. So the big money, is not going to be there for all of them. And it makes more sense to sign a platinum agreement and to run with you and have that where you're getting some money back. So that's an interesting concept to me. I never really thought of it that way, but what are your thoughts on that? If you had a bunch of teams just running a true outlaw schedule, you're right. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, no. Then the bonus money and the prize money. Yeah. they're going to end up. You can't run a full-time program without running a significant part of our shows too. So
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. If you turn these guys loose to go run these shows, then Macri and Marks aren't going to win that many. And it's going to create a disruption, and in disruption there's opportunity. You figure out where the opportunities are, and there'll be teams that take advantage of that, and we're going to figure out how to make it best for everybody. So when you have this many, when you have this many teams vying for top dollar, and it's, you just want to make sure that what you're doing is done very carefully.
Yeah, Brent Marks, by winning both of the Eldorus Kings Royal, skewed.
Yeah.
That's and it was Gio Selzy we were talking to about that. It was Gio, and Gio said the challenge with this is Brent's best tracks are Eldora, Knoxville, Williams Grove, Port Royal.
Yeah.
So those are where the money is.
For him.
Exactly. So it is challenging. Your sense of optimism that this all gets resolved, we roll into Volusia and move forward.
Well, I can guarantee you we're going to have 90 nights of racing, and we're going to run it. I mean, we're going to have platinum teams they're going to follow the tour, and we're going to have a spectacular group of drivers, and I can guarantee the race fans are going to see the greatest show on dirt. So yeah, life's good. I just have to figure out how the dynamic changes. And we have had the one thing that's been the most consistent over 44 years is the World of Outlaws brand. Yep. So it's for me my job to protect that brand and the group of people that it represents, which is candidly everybody. Brad and Kyle when he races with us, and it's all of them. And so it's figuring out how to do that in a way so that we don't confuse race fans. That's the biggest problem that's happening right now. Who's going to show up? When's it going to happen? Who's going to be there? We start confusing race fans, and now we start deteriorating the pieces, and then they kind of dump, and they don't make plan, and then they say, okay, and it's just I don't want to confuse race fans, and it's happening right now in the late
model world.
Yeah.
It is happening.
Absolutely,
you don't know who's coming where.
It is. I mean, I only follow late models a little bit, but even for me, it's like I get confused. You turn on a race, you're like, wait, who's going to be here? Who's running this series? Who's running that series?
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really does.
Yep.
It is not an easy.
No.
And it's, again, managing more and figuring out how to continue the growth of the sport. We're in a great place. I mean, again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys all in the teams that have made over 500,000. One was 3,000 short of 600,000. And then you have to go down to like 10th to get below 250. Now, I know that this is an expensive proposition to run with us.
Sure.
These are teams that are developing and have a package put together that it makes sense for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, most of it's figuring out how to do that and continue to put the best group of drivers. But for the World of Outlaws, it's to have the greatest show on dirt every night we can.
Yeah.
Right. And to know that those drivers are going to be there when those people plunk down their money to do it.
That's right.
Yep.
And that'll be the consistent thing that will hopefully outlive me. It will outlive me. I have a team in place and a succession plan that it's important to me for this legacy to continue way beyond my years.
Yeah.
Brian, without digging too deeply, are there already teams that you know for sure are in next year, or is that all still we're in the works?
I'll go through our process. We'll get our sponsors all lined up.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we get the package. We'll get the calendar put together, and then we will present a platinum agreement
Okay.
to the teams. And then people say, well, you can't control where they race. I don't control where they race. I compensate them for racing with us.
Yeah.
I compensate them.
Yeah.
They can choose. I've got to make it where I want them to choose us. I want them to choose us. I want them to know that they've got the best thing going.
Yeah.
And that's the teams that I want the teams to feel that way. And in the end of the day, those are businesses and people and teams and families that have to make decisions, and it's tough and grueling. My God, you just can't sign up and say, "Oh yeah, let's go have some fun and run the World of Outlaws." That's tough. I mean, it is absolutely tough. So so that is a really serious commitment from a lot of families and a lot of money and a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
So I don't take any of that lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put together the best package we can, and it's been negotiated. They presented to some of the teams presented to me what they wanted, and it's a
big want.
It's a big want.
Yeah.
It's a huge want.
That's what I want.
I don't fault anybody from wanting more and wanting the best they can be, and so we'll do the best we can, and and it'll be part of a long-term package to make sure we don't confuse race fans. We sell full grandstands. We have happy sponsors, and that we can continue to grow the sport. Yep. And if we do that, then the rest of it falls where it falls.
All right. I think the hot seat portion is over
Yeah.
now.
Let's talk about some highlights.
See that? We're survived all of that. One of the things that you have talked about, and I think years ago I shared my frustration of sitting in a stands and hearing about replays and all of this stuff. You have talked and you brought out the big screens, which I love. As you guys continue, how are you doing with the at-track and at-home experience and getting the proper balance on that? Do you feel like you guys with Dirt Vision have gotten that down now pretty good?
That's the beauty of what we have now. Historically, we tried to make our sport match live. And it never did, really.
Right.
You really can't put it in a segment. I'm not going to call a caution for a commercial. I mean, so now we have control of live TV. So we actually, it provides resources to allow. The other piece I don't want the fan at home. If you're a geek, I want to see the telemetry and the talk. I want to hear the other stuff going on. No, I want the fans in the grandstands to have the best experience, because we all know, as a junkies, we all are, that I want to hear the car, feel it go by, smell the methanol. I want all of those pieces. So the important part is to make sure you bring as much of that extra part of the entertainment. Make sure they know what's happening in the work area, what's happening in the pit area, putting the guy's face. We've spent a tremendous amount of money on photo shoots and different pieces to get the faces so the guys are recognizable. Even the non-platinum teams try to figure, okay, let's get the fans connected to the pit area, connected to the event. And our video boards, fan engagement, all of our pit reporting, all that is against that task, which creates that personal connection, which creates a long-term relationship. And that's what we're after. So for now, and then we go into a geography and then we leave. The next day we could be gone 250, 300 miles away. I don't want the fan to forget, we'll go back to them next year. I want them engaged. I want them to talk about what they saw. I want them to want to watch the next race. And guess what? When we started this, they were going to 3 to 5 races. Now they're going to 7 to 10 races. The Dirt Vision fan is traveling to different places.
Really?
Well, I heard this is a cool place. Oh my God, look at that. That's Fairbury. I mean, that's a late model program, but I know now they all know how good Hopstad runs. They've all seen it. They go to the racetrack. They sell both front grandstands out, front and back. It's like, that's the kind of stuff I want. If we're doing that, we're showing people how good things are in different parts of the country. And I'm going to make that my bucket list. I'm going to go see Volusia. I'm going to go to Huset's. Sheldon put on an incredible show. I'm not going to miss that. I'm not watching that on TV. I'm going to drive. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
And that's if we are doing all of that, that's where the success comes in. And now, even though we still barely have 1 year of consistent data on Dirt Vision, you talk about subscription in 18, combined in 19, 20, we added got COVID thrown in here, and 22 is kind of rain. It's like, I really don't even have a year of data to really pounce on what we've got going here. So it's an interesting dynamic. But as it relates to your question, the balance of the at-track versus the at-home, nothing replaces the at-track experience. I'm just going to continue. We're going to continue. The team's going to continue to enhance the at-track experience and then bring as much of that to your house as we can if you can't come to the show.
Yeah. Well, going back to the data and talking about how you have some data from Dirt Vision, I'm curious on the demographics for the World of Outlaws. One thing I love about going to a sprint car race is you see a lot of families, you see a lot of kids. I feel like more so than some other forms of motorsports. Do you have like the average range of your viewers or your fans that are actually at track?
We do. I didn't bring that data with me, but we actually post that. We provide that to our sponsors. We provide that to the teams. It's a really interesting dynamic, feeling like we're starting to take advantage or feel the positive effects of the kids 12 and under free from all those years ago when we started bringing that in. So the families are now, it's an affordable package if you buy a general admission seat. So some of my favorite pictures at the racetrack this year are families, smaller kids, and you get those kids close to that race car, which you can make happen. They're a fan for a long time. Yeah. Now they may wander off, when you get to be 18 and then the girls in college and whatever else gets in the way, but they come back. And that's what we're trying to create, long-term relationships with people. And then if we do that, then the World of Outlaws and will outlive all of us.
Yeah, that is neat. That really, truly is. You talked about engaging with the fans, and you guys, the Dirt Vision. I literally sat there last year, not this past year, but 2 years ago at Huset's, watching all of the video snippets with the drivers, their first car, that sort of thing. And I just sat there and totally entertained while they're doing track prep. Yeah, I mean, they're doing track prep, and I hate track prep. But I'm sitting there just watching the board, just totally entertained. And it's like, okay, track's ready. Let's roll the cars out and let's go. And I just thought that was cool. You also have some teams that, like what David Gravel's YouTube page. And some of the other teams are starting to really embrace that. How important is that as you go? And it's just to keep that engagement beyond Saturday night and Friday night, to have people engaged with the sport and that particular driver.
Absolutely critical. It is absolutely critical. Actually, to the point where we're paying, I think our fees for the service is almost $100,000 a year. we measure the entire social impact of the entire league, including the sanctioning body and each driver, and we give a report. We can have a report based on what David's social impact is, what Sheldon's social impact, crossover in between, and then how it affects the league. So that's what you're trying to get to where, again, that constant engagement where the fan is engaged, and then you'll bring them awareness, engagement, bring them to the racetrack. And if you can't bring them to the racetrack, then they're gonna be watching either the highlights or on Dirt Vision. And it's incredibly important. And we actually compensate them. Part of our new video game, which is a lot of fun if you haven't played it. The teams get a portion of that, and part of their compensation for the video game is how much social impact they have. A third of how they have calculated how much revenue the teams get is based on how much social impact they have. That's how important we think it is.
Wow. So part of their engagement.
Part of the engagement.
They're playing the game.
Their social engagement factors into how much they get paid based on the video game royalty.
Wow.
So that it's that holistic picture that some people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the social media. I mean, it was just I had a conversation this morning about an influencer who makes like some $50 million because he's just an influencer. And it's like, it's just social media, like how important it is, even though we're all trying to keep our kids off of it. It's such an important thing. Brian, looking forward to 2023, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to? Do we expect the schedule to look similar? What are you looking forward to next year?
The schedule is going to look pretty similar. We actually have, one of the big asks for the teams was to take a look hard at the spring, because the spring got really expensive, and it always is borderline making the trek across California. And then are you in El Nino? We don't really know. Is it raining or not? Is it? So it's a struggle, and they asked us to take a hard look at that, and we did. We're taking a hard look. So we actually have an alternate schedule that would prevent us from driving to California in the spring this year. Now we probably have to flip-flop back and forth. We have some wonderful fans in California we will not ignore, but there's an alternative schedule for the spring that includes staying on the East Coast. I hope you like, maybe even stick around a little bit longer if you like motorcycles down in Daytona. So there's some opportunities that we're looking at, trying to create some. It'll save us a lot of money not driving across to the West Coast. But you have to balance it in. The fans expect us to be there, but there's also some really cool things that we're looking at in the spring, staying on the East Coast, opening up some racetracks on the Pennsylvania area, trying to figure out how do we do that. But again, a lot of racing in Pennsylvania. How do you do this without cannibalizing something else? So, but that was one of the big asks for the teams. Can we not go all the way across the country and rain out half the time? And we're looking hard at that. And we actually have a very, very viable, actually something a schedule that Carlton's put together. I'm really, really excited about in the spring. And then we're not going back to Bristol. I think everybody would expect that this year. We've added a date at Knoxville. We got the huge show at Huset's. And then the rest of this is going to look pretty normal. I mean, it's again, we got 15, 20 racetracks that want races that can't have races. So it's like, I can go race every Tuesday night if I wanted to. I mean, but our teams have also asked us not to do that. So, and we are creating destination events. I want to focus on the big events, the Knoxville's, Kings Royals, the Huset's, those pieces where people invest time and energy, take their vacation, they come and travel, and they spend time with us. And that's the event that, again, creates that personal connection, that creates a long-term relationship.
Neat stuff, that's for sure. Motorcycles, Daytona?
Yeah, Bike Week might not be a bad time to go back down to Daytona.
Oh, I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, we've done that before. COVID forced us.
COVID forced you to do that. That's right, you did that, yeah.
We did that. I was like, that was kind of fun. So kind of like that crowd too. So if you're a motorcycle fan or if you're an Outlaw fan, and you can do both. So we're working on that. That would be a critical component to putting us back. If you're going to save some of that travel, then if teams want to spend some time in Florida, maybe take a little vacation. Not many weeks, a week or two, but because we race it again through the Daytona 500 with the late models, give us kind of a week or two breather, then come right back at it and then send them up the East Coast. It's an interesting concept, and we were successful with it before. I just want to make sure that we are doing it, we can be successful and promote it, and have a good program for everybody. And just want to make sure, again, not rush into anything. Make sure we understand all the consequences, unintended or not.
Are there other things you look at like that to tie into? And I don't even know specifics, but like beyond looking at the world, you're talking Bike Week at Daytona, Well, why don't we tap into that? Are there other things that this year or down the road you might say, hey, maybe can we tap into Sturgis? Can we tap into something like that? Is there?
There always is. We're always trying to figure out how do we best cross over race fans. We did a lot of stuff with our new music partners with Whiskey Myers. Trying to figure out how do you cross over some of the music fans, some of the festival pieces. You have to be careful. You're not going to draw them too far away. They're having a pretty good time. So you have to be real careful.
The old snake pit.
But, but we own a lot of clay near Nashville still and some barriers there too. So there may be an opportunity there sometime coming. So that was a lot of fun when we went to Nashville. It's kind of expensive, but it was
a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It
was a lot of fun. So we're far enough away from that for me to forget a little bit how expensive that was.
Yeah. So maybe
we'll try that again. It was like, so we do that again. But no, we're always looking for that way to create a unique experience. There's so much of us as experiential lifestyles that I want to be part of that somehow.
It's interesting that you talk about having the big events. The drivers kind of want to get away from those one-night shows and have the big events, the big purses. But even I remember being on the road with the Outlaws a gazillion years ago, when you got to go to an event and it was 3 or 4 days, you got to either stay at a hotel close by, your trailer stayed in the same spot. A lot of them have motorhomes now, but it becomes a big event. And it is interesting to me that now drivers are kind of looking for the one-offs. Like it is a little bit of an oxymoron. You want the big events, but oh, hey, we want this big event on a random night.
Yeah, it's inconsistent, but but I understand. Again, if the opportunity exists and the perception is that it doesn't have an effect on you, it's not going to affect your Friday or Saturday night, then why can't we? It's not entirely.
Oh, absolutely.
It does have an effect. You just have to make sure that you're looking at all the effects. But even this World Finals, the sprint car guys ran on Wednesday. They had Thursday off. They ran on Friday. They had a day off. And it's like, we have to show up to the racetrack and interact with race fans. And so, yes, you do. And they were all, once they saw it, they were outstanding. They did an incredible job. The teams were there and they had their autograph cards and we had lined up for autographs. And they were interacting with race fans, but they had a chance to take a break, maybe go to dinner with their teams, with their families, take a break. And it was actually, I think all of the feedback I've gotten for the format was positive for all the teams. Even the big blocks that had to come and do their autographs and interviews on the day before they actually went racing. So I think that was a good addition, and I think it bodes well for getting the drivers and the fans connected.
Mm-hmm.
The rivalry, Central Pennsylvania World of Outlaws. 2 years ago, I was worried because the World of Outlaws were just starting to go in there and take all the money. And we'd lost Greg Hodnett and just things had changed. And you were like, this thing is really getting lopsided. Now it's almost 180 degrees lopsided the other way. That is the darndest thing, what you've got with that rivalry up there. And for those Pennsylvania teams to literally take your guys at more times than not, sweep the podium up there.
They kicked our ass. It's like, let's just say what you want to say. I mean, it's going to ebb and flow. It's going to ebb and flow. And it's a wonderful thing. We actually printed rally towels for Outlaws, and we printed rally towels for the Posse. I mean, it's like pick one, which one you want. It's like we printed rally towels. We get into this stuff. I need a fair distribution of money, and I need everybody to have it. But we put together that racetrack, and they put them all on the racetrack, and they all had the same shot.
Yeah.
And how many people picked up the World of Outlaw rally towel at?
Quietly, they walked by and grabbed one. Yeah, so
I figured, you don't almost be scared to pick it up.
Put them in their car and carried them to Houston or carried them to Knoxville where they would use them.
It's great. But the interesting part about it is that there are a lot of first time fans coming out, and so they pick them up. They don't know what they did. 25 feet later, it's like, oh gosh, what did I grab? But those are the kinds of things that you can kind of tell without asking them.
They're new fans,
yeah.
There's a lot of that happening, and we're getting to know the fans better through our Be an Outlaw program and through Dark Vision and the demographic pieces, and it's a cool time, but it's happening at such a fast pace right now. It's crazy good. It's fast.
Everything is. Brian, before we let you go, you just mentioned it. I'm wore out. I got back from Phoenix. I've been doing stuff at Millbridge. I'm like here this week. I'm like wore out. You get a little downtime. You get a little non-travel time, a little breather time to put your arms around all of these things we've been talking about.
There's no downtime. We're going to rain out of our race at Volusia this weekend because of the hurricane coming in. Then we're going to take off. We got a big the Rudiman race in Volusia.
That's right. Yeah.
We added a couple of sprint car races, the USCS and a non-sanctioned race for 360s down at Volusia. So we're going to fill in some gaps with Volusia this year. but we're going back racing in Sunshine Nationals
January.
January 20th. So we got a sprint car race between Sunshine Nationals and Dirt Car Nationals, but it's 70 something days until we go racing again. So right now the last couple weeks have been harder. Because you're running the events, you got the World Short Track and the World Finals, and I've got a good team they do all that mostly for me. Now you're trying to book shows, you're doing sanction agreements. You've got Champions Awards. We're going to New York to celebrate the big blocks in the Northeast this coming weekend, and then we got PRI in there somewhere comes in, and we got a race. There's a race the 2nd and 3rd of December at Volusia, then the PRI, and maybe there's a break in there somewhere between PRI and Christmas before we go. It's great.
Yeah.
I choose the lifestyle. Yeah. It's the lifestyle I've chosen, and it's but I get a break here and there.
So it sounds like you don't have much time to drive yourself anymore.
No, I do, and I've got really, really fast race cars. They're much faster than I am. So I'm going to go play in December at Volusia in my late model.
Good for you.
So I never ever said I was a good race car driver. I just enjoy the act of building the car and then rebuilding it, which I do a lot. It seems like, but it's a great community. I enjoy that part. I had fun at the racetrack growing up. Now I can go back to the racetrack and have fun. And so when I'm working on my late model, I have Kenny Canada and Ricky, and I got friends from Hector and Frankie, and I got guys from New York with the people that take care of my cars with Kenny and Cindy. So we're all kind of in the pit area doing our thing, and then we're talking on the phone with somebody to do this to the cars. Like, you need to drive it in there harder. It's so I'm getting it from all across the country. Maybe my chassis builder is telling me what to do. So set the springs up this way. Let's go smash them. It's like, go down to this trailer and get this thing. It's like, so it's it's fun. It's just fun, and for a moment in time, I can play.
Yeah. Good for you. That is great.
For a hot minute.
I always ask about the beloved big block modifieds, but this is a different year than any other year because the way the schedule makers smiled on me this year, I went to Canandaigua Super Dirt Car Series race. I was the Thursday night of Watkins Glen, and I hadn't been. I was trying to figure it out with Randy Kosaki, who is crew chief for Matt Shepard. I was trying to figure it out with Randy. The last time I'd seen a Super Dirt Car Series race in upstate New York was probably the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've seen him at Volusia, I've seen him at Eldora, I've seen him at the dirt track here. But I hadn't been. I moved in 95, and it was probably a year or two before that. I went to Canandaigua, and you want to talk about, it's like, okay, where's my next off weekend? Where are they running? And everything. I'm going to fly into Syracuse and go see it. Sounds like you've got things rolling along well up in the Northeast as well with those guys.
Yeah, no, we had an incredible year again. You got to see them on that slick New York track. So it's incredible. And then we had a great racetrack at Oswego for the 50th Super Dirt Week. So we had a great year. Matt Shepard kicked their butts again. So he's, it's a lot of fun. People need to go up there if you haven't had a chance to see him. The crossover, the creation of the event in Charlotte, we wanted to expose more race fans to that type of racing, and we've done a good job of that. And there are people that now travel to go see those shows. You've got to see a black slick racetrack in New York. And you see what these guys can do. It is crazy. I think that's why Rick Eshelman called me the Texas Tornado, because I spun out at my stock car a bunch up there.
Really?
And
the Texas Tornado.
They run black slick. It's like black slick in Texas.
It's a different kind of slick.
It's a different kind of slick. It's like, whoa, there is nothing here.
You just feather in the whole time.
It is.
Those guys are amazing. Man, I sat there at Canandaigua. I'm like, man, this is why I fell in love with racing.
Yeah.
This is right here. These big block modifieds are why I fell in love with racing. So really, really cool. Glad things are well up there. Brian, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. We appreciate you coming over. We appreciate the candor, the honesty, and just kind of lay of the land from your perspective. And we wish you a good downtime with all of the events you have between now and 77 dates or whatever it is until you get started again. But thanks again for joining us here on Wing Nation.
Yeah, thank you guys for spreading the word. Again, it's about awareness, and really blessed to get to do what we do. I have a great team or racing group, and I've got a great group of teams that travel, and the whole community, fans, teams, sponsors. What the World of Outlaws is pretty spectacular right now. I'm pretty proud of where everything is.
Erin and I have had a theme, and I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, that we live in a world that there is a lot of angst created wherever it is. It's an election day when we're recorded today. It's an election day. You want to talk about angst? I was on Twitter earlier this day, and I'm turning it off.
I refuse to look at Twitter.
I refuse to look at it as far as that goes. We live in this angst-filled world where there is so many agitators on it, and yet you go to the racetrack like I did last Wednesday night, and it's like, oh my God. This is so great what we have here. So World of Outlaws, great season. All of sprint car racing, 410 sprint car racing, everything I saw. I mean, I hit some mower races. I hit some IRA race. I hit some King of the West series at Pennsylvania. It's all really, really good. So Focus less on the negative. Let's do that.
Let's leave the negativity at home. Let's not bring it to the racetrack. It's hard to do. It's high intensity, and with chaos. We just try to keep it on that side of the fence.
Yeah.
But it's a great escape for a lot of people, and I enjoy doing it. It's hard a lot of days. It's hard for my team a lot of days. Yeah. But it's something we all enjoy just as much as the race.
Yep, no doubt. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brian Carter, the CEO of the World Racing Group. Stay with us. More Wing Nation as we wrap it up here for 2022. Coming up next.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sage Fruit is a premium grower, packer, and shipper of Washington tree fruit. Apples, pears, and cherries, and it's always an exceptional eating experience, and they're grown in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Not only is their produce healthy, but they are grown with such care and precision that you can count on each piece of fruit having exceptional flavor. High-quality fruit, exceptional flavor, healthy snacking. Make sure when you go to your local grocery store, ask for Sage Fruit. Sage Fruit, it's our first choice for quick and easy snacking.
Just like racing components, Aggressive Hydraulics purpose-builds hydraulic cylinders to perform for customer-specific applications. They design and manufacture mobile-style, single-stage cylinders as well as multi-stage telescopic cylinders. It's a no one-size-fits-all approach with Aggressive Hydraulics. Hydraulic solutions for virtually every industry that uses hydraulic cylinders. They proudly design and manufacture all cylinders in the United States. Check out the video of their story at aggressivehydraulics.com. Circle B Diecast is the new diecast outlet from Plan B Sales. What started as Lionel and Chase Authentics apparel distributor has grown into the largest distributor of diecast and now includes Auto World, Greenlight Collectibles, Brand Art, Sandbass Artwork, and University of Racing lines. They have a huge inventory. The folks at Circle B Diecast love racing and support drivers like Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Christopher Bell, and many others with sponsorships and partnerships. And on orders over $20, use promo code MRN for free shipping. Check them out, circlebdiecast.com.
Flow Racing is the ultimate digital home track for race fans everywhere. Subscribe today and stream over 1,300 racing events live and on demand. Flow Racing is something for everyone. It's what we know. Sprint cars are there. NASCAR weekly racing series, drag racing, off-road, and much, much more. Learn more at flowracing.com/GoMRN. That's flowracing.com/GoMRN. Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength. Erin, we are wrapping it up. Before we get out of here for the year, let's one final time talk about the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum birthday calendar. Later this week, Art Bish Sr., Granville Buster Warkey, Bill Cummins, Kenny Woodruff, Greg Stevens' birthday would have been Saturday, Robert Roof, and today would have been the 103rd birthday of J.W. Hunt. 1996, inductee into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. The Strawberry King, a very jovial, friendly, fun, and passionate guy from down in the state of Florida. He started off in drag racing. I don't think he started until he was 42 years old. Got involved with ownership, moved over to the NASCAR side. NASCAR late model sportsman, had wins at Daytona, Charlotte, Darlington. With Jack Ingram, he won 4 championships in that old late model stock series. In the 1980s, his passion turned to dirt tracks. Supported Jack Hewitt, Brett Kading, Jack Hodenshield, very supportive of charities for injured drivers. And Erin, it was nothing for him to walk into a racetrack and say, I'm going to put $1,000 on the guy that wins heat race number 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one of those guys, not afraid to throw some money around and forever enshrined at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. 1996 inductee, passed away in 1994, J.W. Hunt. They have their 14th annual sprint car raffle, the XXX Moyle Racing Chassis, $20 each, 6 for $100. The drawing, December 16th at the Sprint Car Hall of Fame. You can go to www.sprintcarraffle. And Erin, you can also become a founding member if you want to do that as well.
You sure can. For only $25, you get free admission to the museum and 10% discount on museum merchandise.
And Brian Carter said there was 460 sprint car races thus far this year. There will be 461 when we get done because there's still one more. Saturday, the final showdown. Final 410 sprint car race in North America, Babs Motor Speedway. Friend Jeremy Elliott, Sprint Car Unlimited TV. If you want to dial up and catch one more glimpse of sprint cars this year, final race in the 410 ranks in North America. USCS, Pete Walden. Pete's still racing. You know
Of course
how that
he
is. Pete Walden ain't scared to run a race, that's for sure. He will dial one up. He's at Southern Raceway in Milton, Florida. ASCS Southwest Tours at Cocopah, some 360 racing at Antioch. But it is winding down, that is for sure. World Finals is the indication. We get to Knoxville, and we're kind of know it's coming. We get to the World Finals, and it's just the slap in the face.
Yeah, when our notes get shorter and shorter every week, we know.
Absolutely. Erin, as we wrap this up, there are so many people that make this happen. Our key partners, Sage Fruit and Hercules Tires. We appreciate those people so much. Our legacy partners that have been with us forever, National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum, Hefner Racing Products, Aggressive Hydraulics, Circle B Diecast, really, really good partners. Our track partners, Port Royal and the Weichert family, having us up for the Weichert Memorial. Houston Speedway, Todd Queering and Doug up there, Knoxville Raceway. We appreciate Dirt Vision and Flo does the Weichert Memorial. They partner with us on our road shows, and we always know that our stream is going to be so good when we partner up with those guys. Here at MRN, Chris Schwartz, our president, Ryan Horn, Frank Beers, Craig Moore, Hank Silver, Jack Carboni, and in the industry, all of the sanctioning bodies, teams, drivers, and all of the individuals from the racetracks as well. But more importantly, Erin, sprint car fans, when we go out to the racetrack, we watch you every week, we listen to you every week, we follow you on Twitter, we do all of this. We are fortunate. Sprint car fans are so passionate. And so sprint car fans, thank you. Because everyone's like, well, how long are you going to do Wing Nation? What are you going to do with Wing Nation? Where did it all start? There's one reason we get a chance to do it.
Keep watching and listening.
Exactly. That's why I tell everyone, keep watching. Keep watching. And friends like Sage Fruit and Hercules Tires keep supporting us because we know you buy apples and tires because you watch Wing Nation. So great stuff. We're active. We will remain active on social media, Twitter, Facebook, our YouTube page. You can go to shopwingnation.com for Wing Nation gear. They make wonderful holiday gifts. And I'm assuming, pardon me there, I'm assuming there's one more chance this weekend if you're in central Pennsylvania at BAPS, Justin Peck's Merchandise Trailer, Tom Book Motorsports. I'm assuming they will be there as far as that goes. Wing Nation television program presented by Sage Fruit, Brad Sweet, the reigning champ. The World of Outlaws. That's Wednesday on Rev in Canada, Friday and Saturday on MAV TV. Erin, that's it.
That's it.
We're done.
Phew.
What a year.
You know, it went by, I would say it every year, but it goes by so fast. Like, I feel like you said, we get to Knoxville, and then it seems like it's like a hot minute, and we're like, wait, almost Thanksgiving? World Finals are over? How did this happen?
It's unreal. It really is. I'm just so, and I shared a little bit of this, our conversation with Brian. I got to get back out to California and saw King of the West race. Man, I'm telling you what, I love the way they race in California. Got a chance to see Moa when we were over at Gateway and saw those guys race. And, because World of Outlaws, All-Stars, just sprint car racing is so good. So we really do appreciate the chance that we get to do that. I think we're looking at probably a February 1st start date. We haven't talked it around, but we'll be back again next year here with Wing Nation. But again, race fans, more important than all of that. We always say this at the end of the show. We sincerely mean it. Thank you for joining us here today and each and every time. Thanks to Brian Carter as well for joining us this week. But thank you, race fans, for joining us here on Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength.